My favourite scene would be the scene where Daisy, right at the beginning of the first episode of the first series, comes from downstairs into the upstairs, through the opulent library. Then we meet Thomas. Thomas takes us back round through the beautiful hallway with all the pillows, past the grand staircase, back through into this magnificent dining room, past the original Van Dyke. All done in one continuous shot. No words spoken, but it says everything about what the show is about. It gives you the contrast between hard-working place downstairs to the opulence upstairs, and it was almost cinematic in its quality. It was like watching a movie almost. And the fact that I'm in it is a bonus. And just the scale of the shot, the ambition of it, and to pull it off, that for me was putting a marker down saying this is not going to be any ordinary TV show.
I adore all the scenes when we're together. I love the ensemble scenes. It's a nightmare for the costume and makeup departments because they've got to shunt 18, 20 people through makeup and costume each day. But I love the big set pieces. The finale of season 1 was that wonderful garden party where the filming gods were smiling and the sun was out for 3 days. It was a great tying up of all these different characters and seeing them all in one place. And equally, the first armistice when we were all in the hall and it was 11 o'clock on the 11th day of the 11th month. And the camera pans along all the servicemen who are recuperating at the hospital here. And I found that very touching, actually, because for a moment one is transported, despite the cameras and all the modern paraphernalia, back to a time where this was the first time that this had happened. That was very poignant. And again, all the cast being present. 2 very vivid scenes for different reasons.
My favourite scene for Anna and Bates, I think, would possibly be the very first scene that they almost have a connection with each other in Series 1, the episode 1 where Mr. Bates is fired from the house because Lord Grantham thinks he's probably not physically fit, unable to do the work. And Mr. Bates is sat in his room and he's upset and he's crying and you see a really vulnerable side to him, and Anna brings a tray of food up. And they just have this frisson between each other, and it's so unspoken and just this kind of thing that happens. And I loved playing that. It was so nice because it's very rare in this day and age that you get to play that kind of romance and that kind of unspoken emotion. And yeah, I enjoyed doing those scenes.
I love the scenes with Mrs. Hughes, sitting and chatting with her. And I think it was in season 2, there was a scene where I was talking to Mrs. Hughes one night and she was asking why I was so fond of Lady Mary, who was a uppity little madam in her books. And I had a little reminiscence about when Lady Mary was 5 years old. She came in to me and she told me she was going to run away and could she take some of the family silver to sell? And I said, no, I'll give you 6pence instead. And she paid me back in full by giving me a kiss, and that for me was payment enough. And that was just a little fond scene, and I really enjoyed that. I think it was a nice piece of writing, and Phyllis Logan and I, Mrs. Hughes, just sat there and played that scene, and I enjoyed that, yeah.
I just love playing Daisy. Every time I get her lines, they make me laugh. Well, I've got my favourite scene ever, when everyone's going up to greet a guest in, I think it's like Ep 2 of the first season, and Jim's getting them all together and she thinks that she's going and she says, and me, Mr. Carson. And he just does, no, not you, Daisy, and she has to go and sit back, and that's classic Daisy. And I just love that she's always sort of, no, get back in the kitchen, nobody wants to see you.